This is Britain's oldest train, the iconic Intercity 125, a masterpiece of British engineering that's still going strong 50 years later. Today, I'm going for a ride on this retro classic, travelling from Exeter in Devon to Penzance in Cornwall, seeing if this half-century-old train still holds up in 2025. And best of all, we have some of Britain's best scenery along the way, including the famous Dawlish Sea Wall. Join me for one last ride on the incredible British Rail HST. Hello and welcome to Exeter St Davids station in the southwest of England. Today I'm going to be travelling with Great Western Railway on board one of their 50-year-old high-speed trains down to Penzance in Cornwall. Now this is a very old train and it's an absolute privilege to travel on this British Rail icon. And whilst we won't be going the top speed of 125 miles an hour, it's still going to be a very comfortable journey along the Scenic Railway down to Cornwall. Let's go. Good morning from Exeter St Davids, the larger of the city's two main stations. Despite being the largest, this is not the most centrally located station, with the centre being a 20-minute walk uphill. Exeter is a small city, with a population of just 140,000 people. But despite this small size, there are some 9 stations within the city limits, which is a lot. The station opened in 1844 to the Bristol and Exeter Railway, later becoming part of the Great Western. Heading inside, we enter the station's small concourse area, where you can find just one ticket machine. Most ticket sales here are actually done in the adjacent ticket office, which must be pretty rare nowadays. The station also features a small shop and a cafe, though perhaps most unusual is the station's book vending machine. Penguin Books was founded in 1935 after the founder visited the station and couldn't find anything good to read. All platforms are behind a ticket gate line, with staff on hand for assistance. Exeter St Davids is full of art and classic designs, and I just love this sign for the platforms. There are also numerous paintings depicting the station through history. The station has 6 platforms and sees a lot of traffic from its 3 operators. South Western Railway operates an hourly stopping service all the way to London via Salisbury, while Cross Country runs its long-distance trains all the way to Scotland via the West Midlands and North East, using these Voyager units, which are notoriously overcrowded. The majority of trains, including mine today, are operated by Great Western Railway, often shortened to GWR. They run many local commuter trains around Exeter, with a few longer regional trains too. As well as these, GWR are responsible for the city's high-speed service to London, operated using these horrible Hitachi trains, unfortunately best known for their uncomfortable seats and a bumpy ride. GWR also have a train depot here, located next to the station, maintaining the vehicles used in the area. But my train today isn't going to be like any of these, as I've got something very special for my ride to Cornwall. I'm catching the 11:27 GWR service to Penzance, with this being one of the semi-fast regional services connecting local communities in Devon and Cornwall. And by the way, right next to the departure boards, you can see the punctuality statistics. Not really sure those are numbers to be proud of. Here comes my train from Penzance. This is the classic HST, with those letters standing for High Speed Train. These trains spent most of the last 50 years running Premier Express services on main lines around Great Britain. More about the unusual history behind these trains a little bit later though. In their elder years, they were reduced to between 3 and 5 coaches in length and moved to local services in the west of England and intercity routes in Scotland. Some of these old trains even found their way to Mexico, and perhaps an even bigger surprise, they're also now in use on a metro line in Lagos, Nigeria. And in their old age, they're not as reliable as they once were. Let's hope we make it to Penzance on time. These regional services do not have reservations, so I'm free to get on board and pick any available seat. Standard class is in a 2+2 layout, and I've got to say, it looks very impressive for just a regional train. And this is just the first amazing thing we'll be seeing on today's trip. My seat today will be Coach A, Seat 16, a forward-facing window seat. Today's route sees us heading deep into the southwest, running along the famous Dawlish Sea Wall, climbing the tough Devon banks, before crossing the iconic Royal Albert Bridge to Cornwall. Journey time is scheduled to be 3 hours and 11 minutes, covering 131 miles, or about 211 kilometres. We pull out of Exeter St Davids at 11:27, on time, thus beginning our journey down to Cornwall. Our journey out of Exeter is pretty fast-paced, with our shortened formation providing some powerful acceleration, though we still get a chance to spot the Exeter Cathedral and some of the city's impressive churches. While we speed south, let's take a look around this 50-year-old train's interior. Now I'm sure I don't need to be the one who tells you that this is not the original design from 50 years ago, with the carriages seeing loads of incredible luxurious designs since introduction. Though this current design certainly does its best to impress too. These seats are really comfortable. There's a great amount of padding, and the seats feature excellent ergonomic support. Up top, a winged headrest with a leather design, featuring the GWR logo embossed. It's a nice touch. You'll also find this embossed in shiny metal on the seat back, another really smart, subtle detail that stands out. Between each seat, you can find a folding armrest. And meanwhile, the legroom is fairly decent for standard class, without being anything special. There's also a folding seatback table, not the largest available, but it features a sliding bracket to fit a laptop. And there's also a groove to place a drink. There are a few larger tables throughout the train, but these are very limited, usually about 2 per carriage. And down here is the plug socket, with just 1 provided per pair of seats. This section of track is the fastest we'll be going today, with speeds of up to 100 miles an hour permitted. However, this does not last long, as we quickly reach the Exe estuary and begin running alongside the river. On the other side is Exmouth, another town reachable by train from Exeter. Despite only being 1.5 miles away from us now, the journey by rail would take about 45 minutes. Let me know in the comments if you can think of any other long rail journeys between 2 places that are actually close together. This is Star Cross, home to one of the few remaining examples of so-called engine houses for the atmospheric railway. This system worked by having a pipe between the 2 rails, with the engine houses pumping to create a partial vacuum and move the trains along. While the system was a total failure and lasted less than a year, some of the engine house buildings still remain, identifiable by their substantial chimneys. Despite being a regional service, we don't stop at all stations, and Dawlish Warren is another one of those that we missed. Just after this, we reach the famous Dawlish Sea Wall, easily one of Britain's most beautiful stretches of railway, running just metres away from the English Channel. We also can see some of the robust sea defences here, built in response to the 2014 storm, which resulted in a 2-month closure of the line. Dawlish is also our first station, with a short 1-minute wait here in the coastal town. We make another stop a few minutes later in Plymouth, another popular coastal town, before running along the Tyne estuary, in my opinion the most underrated section of this line. And next up is Newton Abbot, which marks the beginning of the most challenging section of the route. This is the point where the Riviera line to the popular resort town of Penzance diverges from the main line, as we head west to tackle the South Devon banks, some of the steepest climbs on the entire network. Dainton Bank is the first climb, and the steepest of the 3. In past days, this climb would have been a real struggle, with heavier trains often needing an extra locomotive to make it across. However, the dual locomotive approach of the HST made this practice almost redundant, with modern diesel units finding the task even easier. The story of the HST goes back to the 1970s, with British Rail looking to upgrade their long-distance fleet. But with the government refusing to allocate enough funds, electrification was not an option. Models using gas turbines were proposed, though eventually the option with a pair of diesel locomotives, one on each end, was selected, resulting in the iconic Intercity 125. These were originally fitted with Paxman Valenta engines, and any rail passenger before 2005 will recognise their distinctive scream. Nowadays, these trains have been mostly replaced by these Hitachi units, with our train being one of the last examples remaining in England, and at the time of recording, only has a few months left. The GWR fleet has received multiple upgrades over the past 50 years, with new engines fitted in the mid-2000s, and more recently in the late 2010s, new automatic doors, replacing the classic manual slam doors. Each locomotive was also named after a castle along the GWR route, and I love the personalised touch this adds to the fleet, as well as the attention to detail. After climbing up the last of the hills, we storm down Hemerdon Bank, quickly approaching Plymouth. And on the way into the city, we catch a glimpse of the newer trains due to replace the HST on local routes soon. This is the Class 175, a second-hand regional train built from 1999. Look out for the red roofs here in Lera Depot. Plymouth is the largest city in Devon, home to 270,000 people, with its station being a major terminus and interchange. A lot of long-distance trains from London and the north end their journey here, and I've always seen the city as a divider between the main line and the more rural line into Cornwall as a result. Our train just has a 7-minute wait, while awaiting its slot to cross the stunning Royal Albert Bridge, another incredible part of our journey today. Our departure westwards from Plymouth means we're now just a few minutes away from Cornwall, and I'm looking forward to paying another visit to the picturesque county. We're now crossing the Royal Albert Bridge, an iconic construction designed by the Great Western Railway's chief engineer, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, with the bridge displaying his name in honour. Saltash is our first stop in Cornwall, and on a day like today, the area has some stunning views over the Tamar estuary we just crossed. Cornwall is a really beautiful part of the country, with rolling hills and forest as far as the eye can see. And what better way to visit the area than staying in a renovated train carriage? Well, that's possible right here in St Germans. Unfortunately, the weather takes a turn for the worse, beginning to look a little more like what you'd expect here in Britain. Down below is one of Cornwall's rural railway routes, the Looe Valley Line. This is one of the less conventional branch lines out there, with the line heading north from Liskeard doing a near 360-degree turn before reversing and heading south. You can just about see the perpendicular platform here at Liskeard Station. As we head deeper into Cornwall, let's take a look around the rest of the train. All 4 carriages are standard class, so there's little variety as far as seating goes. However, there is a wheelchair space with an adjacent accessible toilet. As a former long-distance train, there's plenty of room for luggage. There's an overhead rack spanning the entire length of the carriage, while a huge luggage stack is located next to the doors. Each passenger gets a coat hook, located on the seat in front. And one great feature these trains do have, that many newer ones don't, a dedicated bike storage area, found next to one of the locomotives. There's no struggling to mount bikes on an impractically small rack on these trains. Each train has 4 toilets, found at the end of carriages. This was very small, but in good condition. Soap was provided and the water was working fine, though this sink was pitifully small, causing water to sometimes spill when taking on curves. Paper towels are provided for drying hands. The train was fitted with free Wi-Fi, though unfortunately this was not working on my journey. Our next stop is Bodmin Parkway, located 3 miles away from the town of Bodmin. The town centre can be reached by rail a few times a day, but only by heritage steam or diesel trains, which is quite a novelty. As our journey to Penzance progresses, so too does the bad weather. So much for a lovely summer's day. But luckily, as we approach Cornwall's only city, this miserable storm clears up. This is Truro, with a population of around 20,000. Despite its small size, it was awarded city status in 1877, with its cathedral being constructed between 1880 and 1910. So let's talk about how much this journey costs. A one-way flexible ticket, valid at off-peak times, costs £30. However, a day return is nearly the same price, making this pretty decent value overall, and a fair bit cheaper than rail travel in other parts of the country. I also got an additional 1/3 off of the price thanks to my 16 to 25 railcard. By the way, Cornwall is one of the last places in Britain where you can spot the classic semaphore signals on the main line. These older style designs are being replaced by colour light signals, like the one shown here. Let's hope for a more reliable railway as a result. The iconic St Michael's Mount comes into view, with this being a tidal island only accessible by foot during low tide. This is an important local landmark, signifying that we're just minutes away from Penzance. But before we get there, we pass Long Rock Depot, the westernmost depot on the entire British railway network. We arrive into Penzance on time at 14:38. Overall, this was a great journey on the GWR HST. This 50-year-old train has certainly done the nation proud, and surprisingly, even now delivers an excellent passenger experience. Certainly better than the Hitachi trains that replaced it on long-distance routes. Let's hope the Class 175s are a good replacement on local routes. And now you've seen Britain's oldest train, how about its newest? This is the Avanti Aviro unit, a controversial high-speed train that I took on a trip from Birmingham to London. It's certainly a very different experience, and you can watch that by clicking up here now.